A quiet night at the hospital. The emergency room was quiet, bathed in the faint glow of fluorescent lights. The sterile walls reflected the stillness of the night. Nurses and doctors on the night shift exchanged soft whispers, their voices barely audible over the occasional echo of footsteps in the empty hallways. It was an uneventful evening, until the automatic doors at the main entrance slid open. Everyone assumed it was a patient arriving, but instead, a German shepherd stepped inside. His coat was matted with dried mud, and his deep, soulful eyes reflected both exhaustion and determination. This was Liam, a retired police dog who had once served with honor. He moved cautiously but with purpose, carrying something gently in his jaws, a small bundle wrapped in an old cloth. The nurses exchanged stunned glances. One of them hesitated, then stepped forward, curiosity overcoming her fear. As she unwrapped the bundle, the room seemed to hold its breath. Inside was a baby, tiny, frail, and struggling to breathe. His skin was pale, and his chest rose and fell irregularly. "Oh my God, it's a baby," a nurse gasped, her voice trembling. The stillness of the night shattered as the emergency room erupted into action. Nurses and doctors rushed to stabilize the fragile infant. Equipment was prepared, and the medical team worked with urgency, each second feeling like a race against time. No one could believe what they were witnessing. A dog had walked into the hospital, carrying a baby on the brink of death. Liam stood silently near the entrance, calm and watchful. His eyes, filled with a desperate plea, never left the baby. The medical team, though experienced, had never encountered anything like this. "Check his breathing and heart rate," one of the doctors instructed, snapping everyone into focus. A nurse knelt beside the bundle, her hands trembling as she carefully unwrapped the cloth. The baby's skin was icy cold, his tiny body covered in dirt, and his breathing faint and irregular. "This child is severely dehydrated and malnourished," the lead doctor said gravely. "We need an IV now, and we have to stabilize his breathing immediately." The heart monitor emitted a slow, weak beep, signaling the critical state of the baby. A nurse quickly connected him to an oxygen supply, adjusting the flow carefully. The tension in the room was palpable as everyone worked in silence, racing to save the child's life. As the medical team focused on the baby, one nurse kept glancing at Liam. The German shepherd remained by the entrance, unmoving, his gaze fixed on the child as if waiting for a miracle. He didn't bark or growl, he simply watched, his eyes carrying an intelligence and urgency that felt almost human. "This is so strange," the nurse murmured under her breath. "How did he know to bring the baby here?" No one had an answer. All they knew was that Liam had acted as if this was the most important mission of his life. The investigation begins. News of the incident spread quickly. Within minutes, the police were called. Officer James, the lead investigator, arrived with his team. As they entered the emergency room, nurses recounted the surreal story, their faces still filled with shock. "We have no idea where the dog came from," the head nurse explained. "He brought the baby in, placed him on the floor, and just stood there. That's all we know." Officer James narrowed his eyes, taking in the sight of Liam near the entrance. "A dog carried a baby to the hospital? That's hard to believe," he muttered. But his expression softened as he observed Liam's calm yet watchful demeanor. "Has anyone checked for a microchip?" James asked. A young officer stepped forward with a scanner and cautiously approached Liam. But as soon as he got too close, Liam backed away, his posture tense but not aggressive. His eyes remained sharp and alert, as if warning them not to come nearer. "This dog's been trained," the young officer remarked. "He might be a retired K9. James nodded and took a step closer, his movements slow and unthreatening. "Easy there, buddy," he said softly. Liam studied him for a moment before allowing the officer to clip a leash onto his collar. "Let's see where he came from," James instructed, signaling for his team to follow. The abandoned house. Liam led the officers through the city streets, his steps deliberate and steady. The flashing lights from their patrol cars cast long shadows on the pavement. Tension grew with each passing block. Finally, Liam stopped in front of an old, dilapidated house in a deserted part of town. The front door was ajar, as if someone had left in a hurry. James frowned. "This is it," he said quietly. The officers exchanged wary glances before cautiously approaching the entrance. The smell of mold, stale air, and rotting food hit them as they stepped inside. Liam led them through a cluttered living room and toward a small door at the back of the house. "Stay sharp," James ordered, his voice low and tense. When they opened the door, they found a small, dimly lit room. In one corner stood an old dusty crib. Around it were scattered signs of recent occupancy, an empty dog food bowl, a tattered blanket, and a few children's items strewn across the floor. Liam slowly approached the crib and sniffed the spot where the baby had once been. "The baby was here," an officer whispered, his face hardening as he took in the scene. Exhausted, Liam finally collapsed beside the crib, his body going limp as though he was allowing himself to rest for the first time. His mission was complete. The letter. As the officers continued their search, one of them found a crumpled envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a handwritten letter, the writing shaky and uneven. "There's a letter here," the officer announced, then began reading aloud. "I no longer have the strength to care for him. Everything around me is falling apart. All I have left is Liam, and I know he'll do the right thing. I hope that one day someone will forgive me." The letter wasn't signed, but its message was painfully clear. The author had reached a point of utter desperation, entrusting her child to the only companion she had left, her loyal dog, Liam. Finding Emma. Based on clues from the letter and a neighbor's account, the police widened their search. After several hours, they received a report about a young woman wandering in an exhausted state at a nearby park. When the team arrived, they found her sitting motionless on a bench, clutching herself tightly against the cold. Officer James approached cautiously. "We found a child who was brought to the hospital. A dog led us to an abandoned house nearby. Do you know anything about this? We need to ensure the child's safety." At the mention of the child, the woman's eyes widened in shock and hope. "Olivia? Is it my daughter? Is she alive?" she stammered, tears streaming down her face. James nodded gently. "We found her. Olivia is currently receiving treatment at the hospital. She's stable but still under observation." The woman, Emma, broke down in sobs. After days of despair, she finally heard a glimmer of hope. A new beginning. Emma was taken to the hospital, where she was reunited with Olivia. The doctors confirmed that Olivia was out of critical condition and steadily improving. Social workers stepped in to help Emma secure temporary housing and access essential support. When Emma was discharged, she held Olivia in her arms, her face showing both exhaustion and renewed hope. Liam walked beside them, his posture steady but alert, as though he still had a duty to protect them. "We made it, Liam," Emma whispered, stroking his head. "Thanks to you, we have a chance to start over." News of their emotional story spread throughout the community. Strangers showed up with gifts for Olivia, clothes, food, and toys. Some even offered job opportunities to Emma, eager to help her rebuild her life. The power of loyalty and love. Liam's story was not just one of miraculous survival. It was a testament to the power of loyalty, love, and sacrifice. Emma, Olivia, and Liam's journey ended with a hopeful new beginning, reminding us all that even in the darkest moments, love can change a family's destiny forever. If you found this story inspiring, share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Liam's incredible courage and the family's journey to survival and hope? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more uplifting stories. Thank you for being part of our community.